Awesome. Hi, hello, and welcome, Sarah. I am so excited for you to be here with us on the Art of Extraordinary podcast. You guys, this is Sarah Fast, and it's amazing to have her here for this new episode. And Sarah is the founder of Awaken EU Coaching. She is a transformational life and business coach supporting women to lead themselves first so they can experience as much joy with the time they have. So she guides women to strengthen their leadership skills, to awaken to what they truly desire in their lifetime, and to own their personal power. Isn't that delicious? She guides her clients to awaken and brighten their inner light so they can experience a life full of joy, of passion, success, and fulfillment. So, welcome to the show. Sarah, I'm so excited that you are here. Yeah, first, just kind of like let us know what we're going to chat about. We have a super exciting topic. So we're going to talk about flow and about empowerment and about all of these delicious, amazing things. So just let us know a little bit about what you usually work on with your clients. You usually work with women. Is that correct?
Yes, so thank you so much for having me.
I'm so
Um,
excited.
yes, I'm super excited too. And so the biggest thing that I work on with my clients is really breaking through fear and really just finding that personal power within them so that they can consistently work on their goals and navigate both the pleasure and the pain throughout the how they're going to accomplish their goals. So there's always roadblocks, there's always fear that pops up and limiting beliefs. So we have to really dig into these first and foremost and focus on our energy, like our energy behind what we're doing, our energy, the intention that we have, whether the result, if it's the result that we specifically want. So like being very flexible in the how is really important as well. So that surrender, that trusting, we work on all that together, and it's just really awesome to see people just truly awaken and know that they are powerful and that they have everything that they need already inside of them. So I really focus on working with people from the inside out.
Beautiful, beautiful. Like I really, really love what you do. And it's kind of like some of it kind of like overlaps with kind of like my areas of expertise as well. And so when you talk about surrender and flow and stopping the pushing, stopping the hassle, this is like whenever we talk about these kind of things, like my heart just like jumps, and it's so good because it goes really against the grain what we've been conditioned with, doesn't it? So when you work with women on that, do they find it sometimes difficult to let that go and to get into that flow naturally?
Yes, yes, especially if they have a tendency to want to control things, how things are going, how things should be, their emotions, right? And just even just every thought that passes by, it's like sometimes we just want to control every situation, everything that's going on in our daily lives, and it's like we have to be able to release that tendency so that we can just be present in the moment, right? So if being present is what matters most, right here and right now, especially when we're trying to manifest more joy, more abundance, more whatever it is we want, we've got to really find that within ourselves right now. And that tendency to want to see have everything planned out or have everything like down to a T of how it's going to work out keeps us not very present in the moment, and that can cause unfulfillment and just it can be a challenge to even celebrate our successes each day.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. It is so common. And so it's always a little bit of a journey for, especially for people who kind of like really keep holding on deeply and tightly, especially subconsciously. Because like when we hear, oh yeah, get into the flow, or like let go and surrender, it all sounds so nice and so easy, right? But it's actually a process for a lot of people simply because they are holding on so tightly, but that don't even know it. And then from my experience, it's become this habit, it's become the norm. Actually, it's kind of like normal for them. So it's always kind of like weaning them out of needing to do that, needing to be in control, needing to also kind of like, and like let me know if you feel the same, also to kind of like be like almost like too realistic, right? Because we can get entangled so much into all of the shoulds and the like, you have to be realistic and you have to be a realist and all of that kind of stuff, but then that squashes the trust and the surrender and all of that. It kind of like squashes it right in its infancy.
Yeah, 100%. It's like we can look at things as though, yeah, I mean, we have to look at the, okay, what's working and what didn't work, right? And then we kind of have to shift to, maybe do something different. But it's like, realistic, what's their definition of realistic, right? Like, are they not doing things in their life because they're afraid of, you know letting go of the safety or the security of their everyday habits and their everyday experience? And that's kind of what I find with people, is that they're just like in a habit of how they're living their life and how they're experiencing their life. And this is comfortable to them, so it's a challenge to do this work and to work on your subconscious and to do things that are different, because we're so used to it being a different way.
Yeah, absolutely, my experience as well. But that makes it such beautiful work because it's so needed and it's really transformational and it really gives people big breakthroughs. So that is like one of my most favorite topics as well. And I'm knowing that you also work a lot around leadership with women and really finding back their self-empowerment through this self-leadership. So tell me a little bit about more kind of like how you approach this with women. Like, do you usually work with entrepreneurs or with people kind of like in that personal space, or both? And how do you bring the leadership in both?
Yeah, so both, because I really believe that if we don't have self leadership, like leading ourselves, of course, is most important. Like, we have to be able to navigate our emotions and just everything that we're experiencing and what we're focusing on. We have to be able to, and it's a journey, it's a challenge. It's an everyday nourishing ourselves, like taking time to just do little things. I mean, it doesn't need to be 2 hours of journaling and this and that, but it could be 10 minutes if you have a really busy day, but always filling yourself up. And so we look at that and we say, okay, well, what do you want to create? And pretty much like looking at your happiness level right now and how fulfilled you really feel at the end of each day. And I find with people that if they are, just constantly busy and not taking any time for themselves and not leading themselves through that, so they're feeling stressed, they're feeling overwhelmed because they're so busy. And also looking at those stories. So what is their narrative? What is the story behind being busy? And I find most of the time, a lot of people have a story over being busy and a story about time that really affects their ability to be fulfilled and present in right now. So it's like, when the universe gives them more, it's going to be the same thing.
Hmm. Yeah, exactly. It's so easy to get entangled into that, yeah, into that illusion of time, and like we're constantly running out of time and all of that kind of stuff. So that is something that is quite interesting, especially if you are someone, like speaking to the audience, if there's someone who in human design have those fear gates where like there's one gate, and I can't remember which one it is, but it's around the fear of time and of kind of like running out of time constantly.
Mm-hmm.
That is something that is really, really prevalent, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. If we fear that, or even just rushing,
Mm.
rushing ourselves to complete something and not feeling present when we're actually doing it, even if it is self-care. Like, I don't know how many times there's been times when I've like taken a bath and I'm like, yeah, like I'm taking care of myself, but I was like, looking, like I was like rushing my bath, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, or like looking around on the phone and all of that
Like,
stuff.
I got other things to do, I got other things to do, so it's like allowing yourself that opportunity to be is so important. I think that's like the most important work of everybody's life, is just learning how to be, being more, and just trusting that when they do that, beautiful things will occur and they're gonna feel better.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, exactly. The thing is, I kind of like, it's like I sometimes observe there's like a slightly scary trend kind of like out in the like I'm just gonna like cite the corporate world because I've seen it there most, but where like really the time and the energy sometimes is squeezed out of people. And luckily, like there's change coming into the corporate world as well. Like there are a lot of really, really exciting leaders coming into the corporate world, and changing the way corporations work. And like, and it's not just only about money anymore for some of the big ones now. So that is something good. But it's kind of like we're drilled into that because we know it, like for everyone who's worked in corporate, that there's always like time is money, you need to rush, you need to get that ready, you need to be productive. And I think that kind of like is still a little bit stagnant and like amplified in the collective. And so I think this is also why it's so easy to buy into that constantly and feeling the need to rush. And then, as you said, when we're doing the self-care, we're having this beautiful bath and there are like tons of candles are lit up around us, but we'll still feel like we need to be on Facebook or on Instagram or Twitter or do something and be productive and all of that. So it's really beautiful that you speak about it. Exactly. And I know that you work with entrepreneurs as well, and like there's this beautiful trend for like, especially like for women entrepreneurs in this space, to really flourish and like really take on that self-care, and where it's not just like the goal is not just like the money and like the achievements and the car, and all of these like things, like they're amazing side effects, but it's not kind of like the main goal anymore. So kind of like let us know a little bit what you observe in those beautiful entrepreneurs coming onto the scene, and kind of like how their take on life is, and like the whole thing about that. So have you seen any kind of like trends in that kind of area?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the times, people do want, they want more money, they want more success or more clients or more this or more that, and that's all great, which I truly believe that comes, I believe it comes, when it's supposed to come, but also just really making sure that they're fulfilled and happy where they are, and in their day-to-day life is very important. So I'd say like the main trend would just be that, they want the how, they want the strategy of, exactly like what to do, but it's like they have all that within themselves. So when they start to be silent and they start to really just listen to their own inner guidance and their inner wisdom, we all have it. We all know exactly, like if this is our purpose, whatever our purpose is, and this is a whole nother thing, but with entrepreneurs, they usually have a deep purpose for why they're doing what they're doing. And if they don't, we have to get very clear on that vision and what they want, right? So sometimes I will have people that, it's like they want a result, but they don't really know why they're doing it. And they, are forcing things, like they're hustling and they're trying to make things work. And they're just, stressed out at the end of the day because they're busy, but they're like, they're not accomplishing much, right? So we really look at this and we dive into that internal feeling of what their emotions are and what type of actions they're taking after say that they have an unpleasant emotion, like how are they treating that? So we really pay attention to those deep internal thoughts and storylines. And when they start to see that and they start to release the need to attach a meaning to the pleasant or unpleasant emotions, they start to feel a lot more happy, and then the success just starts to come, right? When they're patient, like, and patient and trusting in their experience. So I feel like that's like the biggest trend that I focus on with my clients, is just that internal guidance and that internal wisdom that automatically comes when they're able to just be silent and to be patient. Patient is
Exactly. Yeah.
Patient can be a hard thing. It really can, So the more patient that they can be, um, the more fun that they will have. And that's a big thing also, is my top value is fun. So like if I'm not having fun in my business, if I'm not having fun in my day-to-day life, there's something wrong. Like I want to be having fun. So it's like I work on that with people too, is making sure that they're having fun, because we didn't get into entrepreneurship not to have fun.
Exactly. I mean, this is exactly the reason why people want to be independent financially and like locally as well, like time wise, location wise, and all that kind of stuff, because they want the freedom, because with freedom comes the fun and the enjoyment and the ability to be more present and not kind of like sit in an office block necessarily. Although I know that like there are people who absolutely love that, and that's, that's wonderful too. But yeah, like one thing that I have really seen as well in myself in like the previous years, and I really worked on that, and but also working with clients, is that we have, and I think it's kind of like the ego as well, we have this predominant kind of like need to always figure out, which already is kind of like pushing against something, like the figuring out the how, like how. And that is so damaging to this inner connection that you're speaking about, and to that clarity, and to that to that flow of kind of like higher information. When I started out, I was doing a lot of psychic readings as well, and like pretty much all of the questions I would get would start with an how, like how, this is what I want, how am I going to do it? Like they always wanted the action steps. And I've so much shifted my approach as well, away from kind of like giving the psychic guidance based on how, but actually more kind of like almost like this empowerment work, where they are figuring, like not figuring, actually they stop figuring out stuff and it actually comes to them. And then the how almost like happens automatically, because that's what flow is all about, isn't it?
Yeah, it does. And
Absolutely.
it always, like, it's if it's meant to happen, and if you fully believe, in your goals, in what you're doing, it's going to happen. It might unfold in a different way than you expected.
Exactly. That throws off a lot of people, because they're so attached to the outcome and looking a certain way or feeling a certain way. But it's always about I mean, you're using this one probably as well, which is the saying of the universe gives you what you need, not necessarily how you think what you want looks like. And that's always kind of like a learning curve as well in and of itself. Yeah.
And being flexible, like, um there could be all sorts of different ways to accomplish your goal, and so instead of having it to like being like, all right, this is how it needs to happen, like opening up the options for it to just happen as it's supposed to happen. And it's like that trust again, and it can be frustrating for some people, especially if they were conditioned to want, like, oh, work hard, all right, trade your time for money and freedom, which is a lot of people, that they're trading their time, they're trading their money for for freedom and happiness when it's the other way around. Like I did the thing. Like I went to college, I got married, I got a degree, I started working in my career field, and
Mhm.
I had everything on the outside. But inside there was something that I was missing.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was And so when they discover that for themselves, it's really beautiful. Even if they do have, a full-time job or a job on the side and they're building a business, or they're just trying to figure themselves out. They're just trying to, find their joy again. Once they start discovering that internally and feeling it, they're going to be a lot more happy and they're going to feel more successful, even if the specific result is not in yet.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the thing that I always feel, kind of like me having to done the work for myself, is because obviously as coaches we always have to do the work first. But entrepreneurship is this a surefire road to a lot of personal growth in
Mhm.
a relatively short period of time, depending on like how you approach it. But it's really that road to find yourself, and that's really what it's all about. And I guess that's kind of like what's missing from this empty void culture, where we just kind of like press into these molds, um, and then we lose the connection, and we don't really know who we are. And that's exactly what you said, getting back into the present moment, getting back into that flow, which you described so beautifully. And this is the exact way how to find that back, that connection, which is so amazing, so beautiful. So
Yeah.
how would you, sorry.
Oh, I just said, yeah, it really is beautiful.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I know that there is a lot of kind of like a lot of buzz and a lot of momentum, kind of like around the whole like making money as a spiritual entrepreneur. And obviously this has been spoken about so much, but I just want to kind of like scratch on it, at least at the surface a little bit as well, because we see a lot of amazing coaches making a lot of money, and this is really something that starts to feel so liberating. So finally this whole spiritual community is starting to kind of like open up more and more and more to that flow, that type of abundance flow as well. And I see a lot of young entrepreneurs struggle with that. So kind of like, what's your approach usually when someone comes to you around this area?
Well, around money, I always focus on people, like what they believe about money and what they feel about it, and also just how they, when they spend money, are they able to keep track of what they're spending, or is it something that they don't want to look at or talk about or focus on? Because I think this is really important. And for a long time, I did not keep track of like my finances. I didn't have like a long-term finance. Like I was terrible at saving money. And these things, when was digging into it, I'm like, well, no, I wasn't treating my money the way that I should have been, or I felt like I should have been. So I think that this is really important, is to look at how people are treating the money that they do have, you know, and how they feel about the money that they do have before being able to open yourself up to receiving more money. So that is the main priority. First and foremost is figuring out the beliefs and really the storylines and how people are feeling about spending money and receiving money. And then we work on, okay, well, then once you start receiving more money, how are you going to celebrate that? How are you going to make it a fun experience? So then the more that you get, you actually know where that's going and you feel good about it. And you're planning for like your financial freedom and different things like this, and your trips or whatever it is that you want to do. So I think that is the most important part before being able to fully open yourself up to receiving more, is that money mindset.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I feel like the fears and the doubts and those things, they are the most kind of like the most sabotaging factors in that whole game almost. And it's quite
Mhm.
easy to fall into that because we tie so much of our perceived security to money. So we constantly give that power away to currency, to our income, to our employer, to clients, even to, because it's all kind of like tied down to money. And sometimes it takes a little while to untangle this yarn ball of kind of like conflicting, sabotaging thoughts until like the flow can actually start to flow again, right?
Yeah, and the perception, you know, of of people who have more money, and of just the money that you already have. Like if you feel, like you're lacking in your experience with money, then it's going to be hard to open yourself up to receiving more money. So it's like what you focus on grows, where your energy goes flows. Like focus on what you want, focus on treating your money as money, right? It's money, it's energy. So just allowing yourself to celebrate the money that you do have, and then the more money will come. It will. It always does. Like it's crazy how it works, but it really like for me, I've always had that experience. Like I've always figured it out, like no matter what, because I've always had this just trust and knowing that, like with debt, for instance, like I have a really good mindset around that, and around spending money. So I feel like that has really helped me in just figure, all right, I'm going to treat my money better, and now I'm going to actually open myself up to have more money, and I'm going to treat that money better and spend it wisely.
Absolutely beautiful. Awesome. Yeah, because this is really kind of like the one thing that a lot of like these beautiful, aspiring soulpreneurs who have so much potential, that's kind of like the biggest struggle sometimes I find, to really get that balance right and to open the mind and like the energy and all of these kind of like things. Beautiful.
Mhm. Yeah, especially with
So
like investing in yourself. And like I've had this, come up for people that they're going to wait until they have more money to invest in themselves. And honestly, every time I've invested in myself, my ROI has shown an improvement in myself and in what I do. So it's like, just once again, going back to that mindset, you've got to have the mindset that you're worthy of receiving more money, for the universe to react to that, with more.
absolutely, absolutely. I feel especially the money thing, well, just like relationship and all of these kind of things, they directly tie down for our need for security, but also kind of like almost this kind of like clinging on to trying to become more worthy, instead of actually accepting that we already are worthy, completely, fully, right here, right now. And to all of that kind of stuff, because sometimes we can fall into this healing trap. That is something that I have observed a lot, and that directly trends also sometimes into the money situation, where people feel like they still need to do this healing and that healing and this modality and that modality, whereas sometimes it's really just making the decision to feel whole and complete and healed now, which is also a really big part to receiving and for that energy flow in and out to be happening naturally.
Yeah, 100%.
Awesome. So, if you had any kind of like advice that you could give like people who are on this spiritual slash soulpreneur journey, what would it be? Like the most important things, like one or two things for you, that you feel kind of like would be super helpful for people who are starting out and who really kind of like want to build this extraordinary business, this extraordinary life, who have this soul calling to create something that is exceptional.
Well, the first thing I would definitely want to share with people is to focus on the inner work first and foremost. Like, face any limiting beliefs popping up. This is like a daily practice. If you have anything that you need to shift, or any fears or anything like that, like, make sure that you are in control, and that you are leading yourself, and making sure that those thoughts and those emotions, that you are able to navigate them, and that you're able to still take that consistent action, and believe in your dreams and your vision, and get very clear on what you want, and why you want it, and just take action. Like, just do it. Just take action. See what worked, see what didn't work, continue to do it. Just keep going. Like, don't give up, and just trust in your path fully, because that is what's going to keep you going, and that's going to keep the feel driving you through your setbacks, and through the pain, and through the challenges that you're going to face, because they're inevitable. But if you can really, really feel that fiery passion every single day for what you're doing, that's going to keep you going no matter what.
Absolutely. So beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing all of this wisdom with us, Sarah. It's been incredibly interesting. And I'm loving our chats anyway. We've connected outside of this podcast episode as well. And yeah, we're like, if my community wants to find you, where should people go to find you?
Yeah, so I have a Facebook group, the Awakened Soulful Society. So that's like where my free masterclasses and content is in there. We have like soul gardening Sundays where we connect via Zoom. So that is the main place. Or on Facebook, Sarah Fast is where I will be, and I also have Instagram at Awaken to More. So you can connect with me there, and I would love to get to know you more.
Yay, so awesome, Sarah. Again, thank you so much. It's been an amazing pleasure, and I hope to speak to you soon.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.